Hey guys, my project was on the history and the historiography of the Exodus account, meaning that I wanted to analyze the historical truthfulness of it and also the ancient Near Eastern background of the story. The thesis that I had was it was this Exodus is best viewed as a true myth. And that's what my paper is structured after. So the first part, I looked at the historicity of the Exodus account, meaning Exodus as a historical event. And as soon as you step into this realm, you realize that there is a lot of debating going on, and it is a complex issue. Also, that the most scholars do not take the Bible to be direct evidence, but it's also indirect evidence, and there's a lot of indirect evidence that points to it. And so that's just what I wanted to do. In my paper, I took the um, later date, the 1260 date of the Exodus, just because I think it better lines up with archaeological evidence, and I tried to posit a theory of what could be going on within the ancient Near Eastern society, the events of the time. I don't want to get too much into the different sources used. I really just focused on two. The first one was the Hyksos people, which were around the 1600s, foreigners that came in. And the second one were the Habiru people that are in the Amarna letters, which is more around 1300s sometime. And my theory was just that I think that looking at these two pieces of source material gives us an idea of what could be going on in the society at the time, and that those events reflect the Exodus, the potential for the Exodus to fit very well in there. I'm not trying to say that either the Hyksos or the Piru are the Israelites, because there's a lot of theories that links those two together. I'm just trying to say that looking at looking at the society at the time reveals that Exodus could easily fit into that time frame, especially with the taking the Bible account for what it is. So yeah, I think there is great validity for the Exodus to be viewed as a historical account. But the second part is I wanted to look at the Exodus as mythology. And that's just stemming from looking at other pieces of literature, and there's weird comparisons there. I just wanted to see what was going on. So the two, before I get into that, the first, when you hear mythology, or when I hear mythology, I kind of tense up, because I think for us it is a modern innuendo for falsehood. But I don't think that's the case. I don't think that's respectful to what myth was supposed to be in the ancient Near East, or just in the ancient world in general. In fact, I looked at a couple articles, and there's like 22 definitions or categories that you can view myth through, and not many of them at all reflect that it's a false story. What it does reflect is that it is an ancient way of telling stories. And so the definition that I came down on for mythology is a narrative of divine actions in the past that maintains validity for the individual in the present, and that is best expressed through ritual. And I think when you compare that to the Exodus, that's what you see. It's divine actions in the past of Yahweh's salvific works that are very much valid, very much for the present person, and that is continued through Passover. So, and then just to further this point, I looked at two other pieces of literature. One is the legend of Sargon, and one is the story of Sinuhe, if that's pronouncing it right, and just made comparisons showing that there are definite shared motifs, definite shared ideologies from the ancient Near East, and we don't have to be afraid of those. It doesn't take away from the truthfulness of the story, it just contextualizes the story within the context and within the thinking of the time. And so just to reiterate, I think that the Exodus reflects both historical realities, that it is a historically true and trustworthy event, but it is told, the story is portrayed within to an ancient Near Eastern mindset, within an ancient Near Eastern set of storytelling with its own questions and ideas, and that is best expressed as myth. So that's my story. Sorry, that's my paper, and it was a pleasure.